Hey, Callie, it's so great to meet you. And I'm super excited to talk weapons. It's a movie I still can't stop thinking about.
Good. That's what we like to hear. And thank you for having me.
No, of course. Weapons has been making waves as this summer's big horror and thriller, the summer's biggest. But honestly, this has been a movie that stuck with me since the last film that Zach has made, Barbarian. It's on par with that because Barbarian like won me over, and I'm not even a fan of the genre. I gotta say that I don't like horror
Really?
films. I'm a scaredy cat. You
Okay.
know, I enjoy them, but they're not my go-to. But Weapons was really amazing. Once again, Zach has delivered again. But first off, I want to ask you how this role came to you, playing Alex's mom. Was it a traditional audition or something that happened in an unexpected way?
It was. I've been calling it the old-fashioned method of auditioning. And I think you can tell from just sort of the caliber of the cast that there weren't a lot of audition tapes sent in. Most people were either straight to a meeting with Zach or maybe a chemistry read. And this came through my manager. It was called the Untitled Zach Cregger Project at the time. And I thought, I got to make sure that I send in something great. And a couple weeks later, I was out on set. But yeah, it was the old fashioned auditioning method.
Yeah, and I love it. They told you exactly who was behind it. I love the title there. Uh,
Yeah,
when did you watch Barbarian? Previously
I,
landing this?
I did. I saw it twice in theaters. I was a huge fan of not just the story, but I mean the directing was obviously something that stood out. So I saw it twice in theaters. And then, what I didn't know until I booked the role was that this was Zach Cregger of Whitest Kids You Know, which my generation grew up on, and so that was another surprise celebrity moment.
So when you go read into this role, what do you know already? Because there's so much secrecy, and we're not really diving into spoilers here because I want people to really enjoy what it was. What did you know going into your role and also to this film? Like, how much were you aware of?
I believe we all had a full copy of the script. So they really trusted the whole cast. And I think it ended up being necessary because you really get the tone of the piece and how you fit into the puzzle. I'm all for keeping spoilers under wraps and keeping leaks from getting out. But as a performer, you really like knowing where you fit into the story. And that definitely helped me. And as far as I know, we all had the full copy of the script before we started.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive, though. Just saying, sometimes when that happens, you never know. Someone's going to slip and mention
Yeah.
something. But yeah, Weapons is something you got to go see blindly. Don't watch the trailers. Just go watch it. It's still in theaters. It's a great watch. I have to ask, what's Zach like? What's his directing style like from an actor's perspective?
He's very in the moment with you. He's first of all, he's super down to earth and he's like a kid who's excited to play every day. His mind is just going a million miles a minute, but he's always right there with you. So he's never sort of a figure that's back at Video Village. You always feel almost like he's just right in the scene with you, and so when he directs you, it's because he's in it and he knows what needs to happen where, and he's not looking at it from a removed perspective. And he's also just fun. He has the vibe of someone who's doing their favorite thing in the world all the time.
Yeah, I can see that. What he's been delivering is something super fresh, especially for this genre, especially for
Yeah.
cinema in general. Some of your scenes, not trying to give anything away, but did you watch this movie with a full crowd?
I did. I've watched it. So I saw it in November with a full crowd. I saw it at the premiere with, which is, the most excited crowd because everyone's just so happy to be there and so proud of Zach and the cast and the crew. And then I saw it once more with another crowded theater, like at the IMAX in Burbank with some friends and family. And the reaction has been loud, consistently, even back in November when it wasn't quite finished. And I'm thrilled to see everybody having such a good time at the theater.
Yeah, and I have to say specifically your scenes what I was getting back to is where the crowd really a lot of gasps and a lot of woes and shocks in general. How does that feel to know like your scenes are the ones that also are like making the audience go, "What am I signed up for here?"
I mean, amazing. And I think it says a lot about Zach's vision for that one particular scene that you're talking about, that it's not a gory or a jump scare moment, but it's still getting such reactions out of people. It just is it's like a master class in how to create tension. And it's just been really fun. It's a really cool moment to be a part of. And I'm so glad it's hitting with so many people.
Yeah, can you talk us through like the direction that Zach was giving you throughout those scenes, maybe, and just in
Yeah.
general, the set? I guess it looks like a full blown house, but it's not fully built out. But what's like inside? It's very eerie, the most eerie house I've ever seen.
It is. It has the vibe of like I've been calling it like your friend's parents' house. You know, when you're growing up, it has kind of that, and it feels just like a little bit stale, but familiar. So we shot the exterior scenes differently from the interior. So the interior was all on a sound stage. So we really got to, mess the place up, break down doors and all that stuff. But Zach's direction for the first big tension scene that you were talking about, that one is all one shot. So it had to be timed really perfectly. And that is my hand coming in at the end. So I do the whole thing. And we probably did maybe 5 or 6 takes before we were really happy with the timing of it. But that walk that I do on the way, Zach knew how he wanted the walk to be so specifically that he had me do it in a Zoom meeting with him before I officially got the part. And I called my agency afterwards and I said, I'm pretty sure that we got this, but if we didn't, it's because of this walk. It's because of this walk. I don't know if I did it. I don't know if I can do it. And that was the last thing I filmed. And I worked consistently on it the whole time I was in Atlanta, just trying to like nail down what that was supposed to look like.
I mean, that is a haunting scene in my head still to this day. Just eerie in general, and it's stuff like that that makes this film so great because it's I call it the small stuff, but it's very effective. Just these little things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I have to ask, was there a moment that was hardest for you to film? Just one of the scenes, or even the table dinner scene? What was going on with that? I felt like that's a tough scene to watch at the same time.
Yeah, I would say other than the walk, those table dinner scenes, you wanted to have something going on inside. You didn't want to just be vacant, but also you needed to be vacant. So the way that I handled that was I tried to imagine, that feeling that you have where you just want to shut everything out and just kind of be left alone and maybe like bed rot a little bit. I sort of imagined what it would be like if Alex's mom had wished for that and then gotten her wish. So it was sort of a mix of relief, but also being trapped. You make a wish that you then can't get out of. So that was my way of dealing with a lot of stillness. But yeah, I do think the walk tops it for me as like the most difficult scene. I have videos of myself walking around my hotel room for like 2.5 months working on this walk. And I felt a lot of pressure for that one.
There's a lot of dread in this movie, but also, what I've mentioned in my review and everything else is it's darkly funny, which is a Zach thing at times, especially Barbarian had that. Did that surprise you while reading the script or watching the finished product, that how darkly funny the film is and how it really gives a great balance and what makes his film so also unique?
Yeah. And I mean, I think that it's funny to see him and Jordan Peele come from this background in sketch comedy and just have it lay so well on horror film. But I also think that there's not very many genres that don't benefit from humor. I think even traumatic films or abstract films do well with laughs. And I knew that Zach was a funny person, but I do think there was an element of surprise of how much further the cast even took it. So I knew it was funny when I read it, but then there were all of these nuances that each actor brought, and seeing all the final pieces put together. Because there's so much you don't get to see when you're filming in chapters like this. So even though I knew what was in the script, I didn't get to see how each actor was choosing to portray it. And like Austin Abrams is a great example of how could anyone predict how funny that would be.
Yeah, that's true. And it's just funny going from like not screams per se, but shocks to like chuckles in a film. You're getting all the range of emotions in this one film, which is really fantastic. After stepping into this genre, Do you see yourself wanting to explore more of that horror thriller side, or other roles you're itching to take, or like just what are the projects you got in the works?
Yeah, actually, I'm starting another horror thriller the day after tomorrow. This is an indie project written by my wife and I and a friend of ours. And my wife will be directing this one. So we're jumping into that. That's sort of a political dystopian vibe that I'm really excited about. And other than that, I'm really interested in exploring magical realism as a subgenre of horror. I think there's a lot to explore there, a lot that's interesting about how our world is or isn't made up, and sort of the lore behind our existence, and how that can translate to scary things or weird things or unexpected things. And that's sort of what some of our projects in the works are about. Or even also some religious. I like some religious horror when it's done well.
I love hearing that. It seems like this is the genre for you. Stuff that I will be covering my eyes for, just like I was for Barbarian and Weapons, just not knowing what to expect on that.
Yeah.
I want to go back in time a little bit. What made you pursue, what type of films did you grow up loving? And what was that, maybe that one film or one actor that really said, that you saw on screen, I was like, I wanted to do this.
Wow. So I think, like a lot of actors, when you get bitten by the acting bug, it's usually in theater, because that's your first experience with it. And the first time I had any taste of that, I thought, well, I got to do this. This is it forever. My poor parents are not industry people. They didn't understand it a lot of the time, but they were extremely supportive. And despite, thinking a lot of it was very weird. And then I would say I'm just a huge movie and TV. I don't want to say buff, but like obsessor. So I could watch the same movie 50 times over when I was a kid. And I just loved consuming TV and movie media, and still do. I have my AMC pass, so I go, if I can go, I'll go 3 or 4 times a week. And I love breaking down movies, watching movies, and I'm just really intrigued by storytelling, and always have been.
I love hearing that. We consume as much, growing up. That's really how most of us get raised. That's how I felt I got raised, is through television and films and everything else.
Yeah, I agree. Same here.
Lastly, I do have to ask this question. Would you want to work on another Zach Cregger project?
Of course. I don't think anyone who's been in the presence of his directing or his writing would ever turn it down, because you never know what you're going to get, but it's going to be good.
We just got to tell them to make more quickly. I hate waiting so long, but
I know. I think that what's funny is that we finished filming last year in August, July, and there was a cut already done that was very close to the cut you've seen done in November. So he's capable of going very quickly. And now I think I'll be given the resources to do that.
Yeah. Well, the box office numbers are really impressive. So I have to congratulate you on that. It is really awesome. It's something to be proud of. Everyone that's part of this film should be really proud of those numbers as well. It's a tough world out there, but Weapons is definitely a must see in theaters.
Yeah. Thank you.
Callie, was great chatting with you, and looking forward to see what you deliver next to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me, and thank you for all the Weapons love.